Thank you so much
Hi.
for joining the Honey Pack podcast. It's great to talk with you. And I'm so excited to introduce to everyone my guest, Rachel Jacobs, this week. Rachel is the principal at her law firm, the law office of Rachel Pearl Jacobs, PC. Rachel was born and raised in Chantilly, Virginia, which is, part of the DMV. That's great. She's the eldest of three children. Eldest children, stand up. Um, in high school, Rachel was a two-sport varsity athlete all 4 years and received the humanitarian award her freshman year. She attended George Mason University for 2 years in college and then was a member of the co-ed cheerleading team. She then transferred and attended Morehead State University in Morehead, Kentucky, where she was a member of the all-girl cheerleading team. While at Morehead, Rachel joined Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and was president of the Ada Rho chapter. Rachel graduated from Morehead cum laude with a degree in philosophy. Rachel attended Loyola Law School, Los Angeles, where she was a member of the executive board of the Black Law Student Association and an inaugural fellow and co-founder of the Loyola Anti-Racism Center, LARC. Rachel specializes in civil rights cases involving excessive force and police misconduct, juvenile hall abuse, and sexual abuse. Rachel is a member of Black Women Lawyers Los Angeles, the National Police Accountability Project, and the Consumer Attorneys Association of Los Angeles. So we have a wonderful attorney here with us today to talk about her experience with law school. We're going to talk about, so just a quick rundown of what we're going to talk about today. First off, we're going to talk about Rachel's experience getting into law school and whether or not she knew whether or not she was always going to be a lawyer, and what led her to practice the law that she wants to practice. She's going to tell you a little bit about the case she's litigating right now, which is super, super interesting. I think that it's a fantastic case. It's really, really engaging. And we're going to try to speak, but also double speak, in terms of the the language that we use, but like also like we're just gonna speak, try to be as free as we can. Um, and what how we can help support Rachel in her endeavors to be the best attorney and the next Ben Crump we got sitting right here. So here we go. And thank you so much for coming on here, and I'm excited to get to talk with you. So.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So how was your journey first getting into law school? Like, how was your journey with LSAT? Do you want to talk a little bit about what that looked like for you?
Yeah, I was tutored by one of my philosophy professors. She actually was a part of like writing and helping create the LSAT Kaplan curriculum. Learning the LSAT is not about how smart you are, it's about how well you can learn the test. I did well on my LSAT, and with that, I was able to get offered money to go to Loyola Law School, which is where I ended up going. Um, and yeah, I mean, I had always planned on going to law school. I wrote my life plan in fifth grade. So
That's
I'm one of those
adorable.
people.
That's adorable. I love that.
Oh yeah, like wrote that I was gonna like be a cheerleader because I don't know if you guys, the original Bring It On, when Gabrielle Union defeated the whites and her and the Clovers won. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a cheerleader, like period, right there. And yeah, so that's just what I did. And I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. My father's a lawyer, my uncle's a lawyer, my grandpa's a lawyer. So yeah, that was just always the plan. And while studying for the LSAT, my dad did pass away, so that was like a bit of a bump in the road. Um, Honestly, I think I could have done way better on the LSAT if I had like actually applied myself a lot more, but I didn't. So,
I mean, understandably, like I'm sorry for your loss and my deepest condolences. Like that's
oh,
terrible.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, bad things happen. Bad things are always going to happen. It's
Mhm.
just like how you respond to those things.
Mhm.
Um, Adversity is a test of greatness.
Yeah, yeah. So you always knew that you wanted to be a lawyer. So, what led you specifically to the area of law that you want to practice?
So, when I was in about to start eighth grade, the N word was spray painted on the side of my house by a boy that lived in my neighborhood. And he had been obsessed with me for quite some time, and had been bullying and harassing me. And the school knew, adults knew, and no one did anything. And at the same time, this is like right around when Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman. So I was always a young Black radical.
Hmm.
Um, when everyone else dressed up about like, the historical figures that influenced them in second grade, I dressed up as Ruby Bridges. Um, and
That's
yeah, so
beautiful.
I just always felt very strongly about advocating for people who look like me. And interestingly enough, my dad is white, my mom is Black, but I never had any I always identified as Black. So it was always all power to the people.
But that's normal for most biracial people who when their mom is black. I think I told people for a while my dad was white just he because I'm so light. I would just tell people that he was white even though he had a white dad. And so I mean a black dad. He had a black dad. I'm sorry. His mom is white. My dad's mom is white. So but I would just tell people he's white because it just makes it easier. But no, I get that. But like it's very hard to explain to people in a type of biracial type of way, like, oh, I'm just black. Like you can just identify me as such. I feel like there's sometimes some pushback from other biracial people with white moms. They're like, oh no, you need to embrace your white side.
So that actually, I like did a whole research thing on this, and that comes from the push where they didn't want their children to identify as Black on like official documents, like census documents or whatever else. So that's where that multiracial box comes from. It comes from the desire to not be identified or to not identify their children as Black. It doesn't come from any like idea of like multiracial acceptance or like the fact that, people are more than one thing because uh as one of my friends likes to say, slave massa was in everybody's cabin. So the idea of monoracial blackness in the United States is a joke. Um,
No, I
yeah.
feel that. I feel that deeply. And I don't like the term monoracial because of that. It feels like it's limiting, it's not a full um it's just not really accurate, like you're saying, but yeah, I mean, without getting too much into the but I mean, like, how do you feel about being black in the legal profession? Like, how do you feel like you've been able to navigate, like, no, like not being weird about it, just being like, obviously it's fucking hard. I'm not trying to say like, oh well, sometimes I try to, play respectability and you know change who I am inside to fit my surroundings and that kind of thing. But how do you feel like you navigate, like, if you have any tactics or any like mantras that you say to yourself or any sort of way that you have like a mindset about it or in terms of navigating the legal profession?
So I think that a lot of times it's like you end up in this space and you aren't reflecting that you don't recognize that you're trying to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's little small box until maybe you have gotten out of the box and left. I have been blessed and cursed with the fact that uh, the way my face is set up, there's no denying what I'm thinking or what's happening or what I'm assessing. So, yeah, the respectability politics was just never really a thing for me. And also, this is just my philosophy on life. This is problematic, actually. I don't know. We might have to cut this part out. But I feel like I have lived my life being forced to be uncomfortable by white people. So now the white people gonna be uncomfortable with me. And, you know, regardless of what I say, how I move, if I'm gonna be uncomfortable, you're gonna be uncomfortable too. So I don't know what that says about like me, not creating friction or uh my moving in spaces, but I definitely just move as me because I'm a star.
Yeah, you are. No,
Period.
that
So
like
like y'all can hate, but I still look good.
period. Period. Yeah. And yeah, I think that that's kind of how like my philosophy as well. Like I think that like you just kind of have to be who you are and they can take it or leave it.
They're
Like
not going to accept me anyway.
real shit. I'm sorry.
Honestly, how I feel. Like it, no matter how hard I try to shrink myself, to dim my light, to not be outstanding, I was raised to think that I had to be twice as good to get half. So I'm always going to be better than you dusties. Period. So like I'm sorry, you can take your white mediocrity and whatever other insecurities you have and either try harder or bow down to the queen.
Period. Yeah.
I still cry though at night. Yeah. You know, like I talk like really strong, but it's hard. It's definitely hard. Like getting fired, I was fired. Um, that was hard because rejection is hard. But it's not necessarily a reflection on you. Sometimes you're just too good to be in that space.
No, definitely. And they don't deserve you on some level. Like they really don't. You because you would have to make yourself smaller to be able to fit in the space. Um,
Exactly. And who is that serving? Is that
not,
serving the people that came before you? No. Is
no.
that serving the people that are going to come after you? No. Like because I have two younger siblings, a lot of times it was always, I'm suffering here, but I can do everything I can to make sure that the people who come after me don't have to suffer like this. And that really pushed me to, regardless of the oppression and horrible experiences, be as disruptive and unyielding in my advocacy as possible.
No, I definitely feel that. I have two younger siblings too, so like I definitely feel that, being the oldest, you want to make things better for because like you had to suffer your parents first, right? Like your parents like literally learned how to be parents through you, and like they didn't know what they were doing, or at least in my mind, my parents did not. They tell me all the time they did not know what they were doing with me. So,
No, for
so,
sure.
so I
They
know
tell you
for
that now, not in the midst of the chaos, but like, like after, like, sorry, just all right, cool.
yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I think that yeah. So I guess also want to ask about how do you feel like that impacts your litigation strategy?
Um, so there's this one cheer and it's like BEAGGRESSIVE. I'm aggressive. So like I'm gonna be aggressive. And people approach litigation different ways. My approach is very different from a lot of other plaintiffs' attorneys because I came here to fuck shit up. And that means that I'm going to have multi tracks of disruption. That means that my litigation strategy is never going to be single faceted. It's not just going to be one lane. I'm gonna pop up everywhere. You hate to see me coming. Yeah. So that's how it informs my litigation strategy. Also, just because it was one of those things where people weren't showing up. And like that's terrifying. It's terrifying when you see something bad happening, but then when you realize that people have been asking for help and people
Mhm.
have been turning a blind eye and looking away, that's I had no choice. Because if not me, then who? And recognizing the position of privilege that I am in, being a young lawyer, being a Black woman, being, you know, with the financial resources that I have, I don't know who else is going to be able to do this because I don't have another job. All these cases are on contingency. I'm not making any money right now. Like that's a sacrifice. So knowing that and being willing to do that and being willing to pursue this anyway, I'm either going to pop out or flop. But I'm not concerned about that.
No, you're not gonna flop. No, and that's very, very, very powerful because I think that a lot of people, especially within the big law or bust continuum, they just basically think that it's not worth it to be an attorney if you're going to pursue plaintiff's law or if you're going to pursue anything other than big law. They're just like, oh, that's a waste of time. Like you're
Oh, I
not.
was afraid. I had a whole crisis in my 3L year that I was going to be not financially fruitful and that I wasn't going to be able to sustain the lifestyle that I enjoy living based on what type of law I wanted to practice. But that's the lie, y'all. Do not think that civil rights law has no money in it. Just because these people don't know how to make money does not mean there's no money in it.
That
Okay?
part, that's the big part because they don't know how to make money in it. They don't because they don't understand racism and
Well, because they also don't care. If
they
you're
don't care.
just here
Yeah.
to make money, then you're not going to make money. But if you're here to create systemic change, to uplift people, to
Hmm.
change lives, then everything's going to come with it because
Hmm.
you're doing it for the right reasons.
No, absolutely. And I think that I had a similar crisis where I was like, oh, like when basically like, WashU lied to my employer, said that that I was a threat, a threat to the campus and other people. Basically, I had a crisis and I was like, I'm never going to be able to get hired and, sustain the lifestyle that you want to have and, be financially fruitful and all of that. But at the end of the day, I think it was a point when I was reading in the ethics textbook where they were basically like, oh, the highest paid lawyers are plaintiffs' lawyers. And I was like, wait, wait, wait. Plaintiffs' lawyers? They never talked about that. What do they do? Like, because if the highest paid lawyers are plaintiffs' lawyers, maybe I could go do that. You know what I mean? And so like, what was your first like foray into like plaintiff law?
So, I started at a law firm with some legends. Carl Douglas was on the dream team, and he was brought up through like the Johnny Cochran
Hmm.
legacy, and he primarily focused on police brutality. And you know what? Like, there's money in police shootings. Um, and that was kind of how I dipped my toe into really, I didn't have a concept of the amount of wealth that can come from being a plaintiff's lawyer. I just knew that you could be successful. Um, and that was before I even started thinking about mass torts. So, that's like on a individual basis. That's not talking about mass harm, So when we're talking about a community or a state and or a government and something that they have done or a corporation to a group of people, and then you're seeking to vindicate the rights of all of those people, that's that's where you get to the Willie Garys and the big money boys. Well, they're not going to be boys much longer, but
Right. And they always say that, the only people who really make money off of class actions are the lawyers. Which is like, the payoffs from I'm not sure if you're referring to class actions and class certifications, but
So class actions are a little bit different than mass torts, but
oh, okay.
so class actions are when everybody pretty much suffers like a similar harm.
Right.
So like if you all breathed in asbestos and you all have some type of lung cancer or
Yeah,
whatever.
emphysema or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. But in a mass tort, you may have all suffered the same like uh environment, but that doesn't mean you have the same harm.
Well,
So in the juvenile context, some people suffered horrible physical abuse. Some people suffered other types of abuse. And it's important to me that people are individually compensated for their experience. So that was why this is a mass tort instead of a class action. The other thing is it costs money to be able to do this. So I've had to use a lot of strategery to be able to even get to where I am, So all of my clients are indigent. And there's these things called fee waivers. And you can file a fee waiver to be able to file a lawsuit. But if not, it's $500 per lawsuit, and then an extra 1,000 if you're doing some type of complex case. So if
Mhm.
you have, 20 plaintiffs, that's 10 G's. Hello? That's a lot of money.
Unless you're using Informa Pauperis, right? Or like
Well, that's what you do. That's the fee waiver.
right, right.
So that's how you don't have to pay the fee.
And you're filing in federal court or state court?
I'm filing in state court.
Yeah, I would never like I don't understand. I don't understand state court. But yeah, I know I feel you. I feel you. And yeah, I understand the indivisible nature of the harm versus, class action versus yeah. No, I appreciate you for clarifying that. Do you want to talk more about like the specific case that you're litigating right now that's, at the forefront of your and um we have like 7 minutes left on this segment. So we'll go to a different segment in the after seven
Perfect.
minutes. But yeah.
Unless you want to like switch over like now before we start talking about
Oh
the
yeah, that works fine.
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll just stop it.
Because
So I'm gonna rec so I'm gonna rec So we took a little break, but now we're back and we're gonna start talking about Rachel's uh newest litigation, basically her newest or not newest because it's not new. This is an enduring harm, but yeah, this litigation that she's been engaged with. And I'm just gonna let her have the floor and give her the space to be able to talk about this very, 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 very important set of issues.
is half my face like in a shadow?
Oh, no, I don't think it is. Is that what that is? It might just be the lighting. It looks like there's a rainbow.
No. Okay, hold
Um,
on.
I'm sorry.
I fucked up your intro. Apologies.
Oh no, you're fine. No worries. You're fine. You're fine. I'm just making sure you feel comfortable.
Not that's on me. Ugh.
No
Okay.
worries. No
Let me
worries.
see if I can like I do that. Does it help? Did that help?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like you look really shadowy. I just feel like there's like a rainbow that's like kind of like just peering into the um
I,
it's kind of cool. I mean, I like it. Um
all right. If it is what it is. Okay.
You look gorgeous. You look gorgeous. So let's just say that.
Okay. So yeah. So I don't even really know how I ended up here. Honestly,
Real, real.
uh like if I look back at 2025, it started and I was in trial all of January and it was a wrongful death shooting. My client was shot in the back and it was it was horrible and it ended up like not ending up in our favor and then we had to file a motion for new trial and all this stuff was going on and I was at that point pretty disillusioned about just everything that I was doing because it seemed like people were okay with certain people dying if they decided that, they didn't deserve another chance or, society had discarded them. So, then there's this breaking news and it comes out that staff at the local juvenile hall are making kids fight each other and it was caught on video. And I had never really even thought about juvenile halls. It wasn't a concept that I was very familiar with. I had done some prison liberation stuff, but nobody talks about the prison to prison pipeline. Nobody talks about the youth that are in these facilities. So, one of my other attorney friends actually recognized one of their clients in the video. And they were like, look, if this is something you're interested in, like we can go and talk to them. So we went to the facility and we talked to him. And as a certified um, conspiracy theorist, I knew right away that something was amiss. And I was like, I've worked in civil rights space, so I know people from these communities. Let me reach out to them and see if they know anybody who has dealt with any harm or experienced anything and is willing to talk to me, to see about potentially bringing a case. And as I started talking to these people and these kids and I built trust with them, that's when they started telling me what was really going on. And it was not just that they were exchanging fights for phone calls. It turned out that they were also exchanging illicit favors for phone calls and other basic privileges.
Hmm.
Um, it then became apparent that this wasn't isolated. And it started off basically, they were saying, when we first get into the facility, they make us take all of our clothes off and this is really crass, spread our cheeks. And so then I was like, wait, what is going on here? They're doing cavity
These are
searches.
kids.
These are kids. These are kids.
Yeah, these are kids.
Young as 9. And yes. And it wasn't just that. It was also this is like the really disturbing. I'm sorry, but so
I know.
this is yeah. So then it was, oh, they're making them pull their foreskin back if they're uncircumcised um during these searches. And
Oh, hell no.
some of them are some of the staff are putting their hands on them during these searches. And sometimes foreign objects are being placed inside of them during these searches. Um, and I always said, like, when it came to my law practice, I wasn't going to do anything that had to do with kids, and I wasn't going to do anything that had to do with, essay, because I am an in my feelings person, and I take things very personally. When I advocate for my clients, I'm advocating for my family. I'm advocating for people who I care about, who have been wronged, who deserve justice. So I had a real difficult grappling session in my mind about, okay, this person just disclosed to me that they are being, sorry about that. This person just disclosed to me that they're being repeatedly
Essayed, yeah.
harmed. Yeah. And I can either tell them to go find another lawyer or I can do something about it. So from there, I decided, like, okay, I guess I'm going to do something about it. And that was when I really started investigating. What I found was that A, this was not isolated, B, this was not new, and C, the state knows, the counties know. So as I start looking through this, I discover this entire system of brutality that predominantly Black and brown boys are subjected to. And at the same time, the $4 billion lawsuit against Los Angeles County became very public. So Los Angeles County had a $4 billion settlement because they, for generations, had been allowing children to be, how do I,
Essayed.
yeah, essayed in their facilities.
Yeah.
And the focus was really on a lot of female victims, and everywhere I was looking, I was seeing white faces.
Mm.
And I was like, pause. Wait, like these are not there's 3 white kids in this facility. So how are all what's going on here?
So you,
Where's the representation? Like where is the majority of the kids that are being harmed. And I was like, okay, so what we have here is selective representation as well. We have those who people feel like are deserving of justice being represented, but the most marginalized being left behind. So that was when I was like, all right, y'all, tell your friends, tell your mama, tell your cousin, like we out here
Mm-hmm.
and we're bringing this lawsuit. And then it basically just like spread really fast. And all of a sudden, all these people were calling me from ranging from, people who had been in the 70s to people who had been in 2026. And they all had very similar stories.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started representing them, it became clear that the most marginalized group, which is the people who are currently incarcerated in like the prison system, they had likely suffered the worst harms and nobody wanted to represent them. So then I started representing prison clients. And as this spread, it was like, oh, this isn't just LA County. This is the entire state of California. And it was like, oh, what is going on here? So California did a rebrand in 2023 where they got rid of the California Youth Authority, the Department of Juvenile Justice. They said, we got rid of state prisons in California. Incorrect. They moved state prisons to county control. And that's it. Nothing changed. So the same issues, the same violations, the same horrors. What the Inspector General in 2003, Steve White, I believe his name is, called warehouses of human suffering. Those were just moved to county control.
Mm.
So now we have kids in warehouses of human suffering, and effectively cut off from the rest of society with no one to help them and people in the system unwilling to listen. So that was when I was like, all right, let me see what I can do about this. And that's kind of how the giant investigation started, which led me to realize that they weren't always doing background checks. A lot of times they know about these predators, and similar to the Catholic Church, instead of firing them, they're just moving them to different facilities. Um, and it really kind of was solidified when I had a 37-year-old client talking to me about someone, and that was the same person who had abused my 17-year-old client. And I was like, okay, so these people are staying, they're becoming supervisors, they're getting promoted, they're getting awards, they're living their best lives on their pension after ruining people's lives
That's
with
the
no
sickest.
repercussions.
That's the sickest shit.
Yeah. So
That's so sick.
it was 1-800 expose them hoes. Um,
Yeah.
and basically that was what, you know, I decided. I was like, okay, so we're going to do this differently. A lot of those other lawsuits, they didn't name the perpetrators, which allowed them to continue on because there was no accountability. So I was like, all right, I need to talk to my kids and we need to come to an agreement because we can't just keep having this happen.
Mm-hmm.
I need these kids to feel comfortable naming names, naming places, and it spread and spread and spread and spread. And now I represent enemies. And the thing that's interesting about representing enemies is you get both sides of the story. So it became very clear that staff instigates a lot of these issues. So there is in Los Angeles a huge mm, rift between Black and Mexican gangs. And the staff they play on that. So they might say, oh, one of your clients will say Alberto. I don't have an Alberto, but that's why I'm going to use that name. Alberto, he said the N word, and they're going to tell all of the black incarcerees that, so that they try to fight Alberto. But that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that was what I was. So these issues, it became clear some of them were manufactured. This was all for the sick pleasure and entertainment of these staff members. And entertainment became like a big theme because I was like, why would you make kids fight each other? Like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the point of that? So, I in law school was a 13th Amendment scholar. I have always been big on the reparations train, on the anti-slavery train, and I realized that, when you're talking about labor in exchange for something of value that's being exploited, that's labor trafficking. And when you're talking about sexual acts that are being exchanged for something of value, that's sex trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
And it became very clear that what we were dealing with was not isolated,
Mm-hmm.
that this was a gigantic labor and sex trafficking organization that had been operating with Californians' tax dollars.
And impunity.
Oh, yeah, with absolutely no type of recourse. And as I start going through the documents, it becomes clear they know. They know. So, the idea that these people were exchanging sexual favors for phone calls, this has been reported on. This was reported on in 2006. This was reported on in the 1980s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, pause. You're telling me that we've known about this since before I was born and no one is doing anything? Why does no one care? Oh, because 50% of the kids in the juvenile justice system are foster kids, and 50% of them suffer from some type of intellectual or physical or developmental disability.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easier for society to throw them away and dismiss their experiences than to hold the predators accountable for what they're doing. It also became very clear that it was not just probation staff that was doing this. It's the mental health counselors, it's the teachers, it's and it's the nurses, it's all the adults in these facilities that get to have unfettered access to these kids with no oversight. So, yeah, I started investigating, and the state of California is good at one thing, and that's telling on themselves and keeping a very strong paper trail. So I started pulling all of the receipts, and the receipts showed that they've known for a long time. Um, they fired people who were whistleblowers, who tried to bring accountability about what they knew. And most recently, that they have found that Los Angeles County's juvenile facilities were unsuitable to house youth, that they were not suitable to be operating, that they should not be operating. So right now, the facilities where tons of my clients are being held are illegal by the state of California's own findings because they are not able to meet the minimum standard of care, the minimum standard of safety for these kids. And, we have to ask ourselves, when we're talking about what our future looks like, how do we shape a future that we're going to be proud of with people that we're going to be proud of?
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the way we don't do it. We don't do it by locking kids up, depriving them of resources, and then thinking that by putting all of the troubled youth in one small area, that that's just going to fix everything. So, yeah. Oh, but also the foster kids or the kids who had been sex trafficked and everybody else, they also get thrown in there if there's nowhere else to put them.
Yes, it's just like a trauma haven of like disturbed individuals that are, I mean, disturbed predators and people who just, have like you said, the unfettered access to these kids and just exploiting and abusing them. And it's when you told me this on the phone the first time, like when we like did the phone call, like maybe Thursday, like Wednesday, I have not really like this is not ever something that you could ever like just like put in the back of your mind and just be like whatever like this is some evil incarnate stuff that that when you told me about it I was honestly kind of like where's the news like like I mean like I feel like this is like a much bigger story than like just like oh like you file a lawsuit and but like I think that even like the news is in on it and even like the fact that people don't want to talk about it on a national scale like this should be a much bigger story than it is.
So the news has actually like documented every step of the way. The LA
Okay.
Times was a great source of documents and articles that chronicled this horrendous tale of abuse. But the thing is, if in your mind you're like, okay, well, these kids are criminals, they're dangerous, and I don't want them anywhere, not in my backyard, not in my space, then their conditions, maybe that's their fault.
Hmm.
Maybe they shouldn't have committed a crime, is the logic that people use to
Hmm.
justify what's happening to them. And it's unfortunate, but it's that. It's also that we live in a crazy time.
I guess when think of the news like people don't at least on the East Coast it's like we're not and maybe I'm just ignorant in the like a lot of people don't want to read the news anymore because it's depressing. A lot of people don't want to engage with traditional news cycles or stories because it's not uplifting, but I mean like you would think that someone I guess like the shade room, I don't know, somebody would like want to like I don't know, put this to the forefront, but I guess like, they blame the children for their
They
own
do, but
demise.
also it's like these are kids who within the system have asked for help. They've filed grievances,
Hmm.
they've reached out to other staff, they have done everything they can to advocate for themselves, and no one has listened.
Oh yeah.
So why would they tell the public about what they're experiencing? Why would they ever mention this? And and then there's the layer of the staff threatening them or saying, "Oh, well, if you say anything, we're going to label you as a snitch. We finna get you unalived." Um
Oh
there's
no.
a lot of factors that go into this that have enabled this system to keep what's happening relatively quiet.
And I don't mean to say that the onus is on the children at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying like i- all of these sick individuals are benefiting from a culture of silence that prioritizes their ability to get away with these heinous crimes over actual justice for the victims, the children themselves. Um, and that's
But it
just
also,
that's
it sets them up to become police officers. It sets them up to become officials. You know, this is
Mhm.
this is a government job. It's a way for you to get your foot in the door in other places.
Mhm.
So, the diddling of the youth is a launch pad for them.
Yeah, there's some sick shit out there. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. How do you keep your self-care and stuff like while doing these maybe that's a stupid question because like of the
I
given
see
the
a therapist
seriousness
every week. No, it's
real.
not a stupid question. Um, Also, though, it's just so I've always been like a very outspoken, politically active person. With what's happening in the Trump administration right now, I feel very powerless. And this is keeping me grounded because this is something that I can advocate for someone. It's in my local space. I can do what I can and I can show up for someone
Hmm.
and make a difference. Whereas with this ICE stuff, It's just watching a terror.
Hmm.
And, I did a lot of protest shootings, stuff with rubber bullets, pepper spray, misconduct. I'm very familiar. So I know what is going on out there. And it's also a choice. Like, okay, can I advocate for people if I get shot in the face by a rubber bullet? No. So I guess that means that, like, I'm going to have to figure out other ways for me to be able to protest
Hmm.
because I cannot incapacitate myself. And this is one of those other forms of protest. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, it is. And it's incredibly important what you're doing, the work that you're doing, to help get some justice or some semblance of justice for these kids. I couldn't do that. It's too, it's too painful. It seems too crazy.
It is,
Um,
but like, what's the alternative? Like looking away? I
yeah.
don't say you couldn't do it. Hold on.
I think that my gift is in a little bit I prefer like the employment discrimination type of land, like where I can like cross-examine, racist employers who obviously fired their only black um or their only person of color in their office. Just for and they say it was because of performance reasons. It's almost never because of performance reasons. Like that's a much more um I want to say sanitized, but it's much more like I want not even pleasant per se, but it is like not kids being, essayed and like it's a little bit different. I mean, it's still like fucked and like it can be depressing at times, but it's like
Well,
I
they're
don't
not just
know.
being
Yeah.
insane. So, like, there's other pieces to this. Like, they're being pepper sprayed. They're being locked in their room for hours and hours on end. They're being denied education. Like, there's so many different pieces to this evil system that's being carried out that,
Hmm.
like, there's a litany of ways that we can advocate and try to push for change here
Hmm.
because so many of the circumstances are so horrible that it shouldn't really be that difficult for us to say, hey, um, if you're a grown ass man, you should not be afraid to be around prepubescent boys without pepper spray.
That's
You don't
fair.
need to pepper spray them.
That's fair.
There's no need. And oh, some of those kids are big. Okay. You're 300 pounds. Hello? You got it. You signed up for this, remember? You get paid for this, paid well. And that's the other
Hmm.
thing. We cannot play like these people are not being paid well. That makes me angry. They get overtime, they get paid. So, yeah.
It's important work. I didn't mean to minimize it to just essay because
Oh,
like
no,
you're
it's
right.
not. You weren't. I
Yeah,
just like so many
I
different pieces that people like. It's the SA part is like if we get stuck on that, then we miss the whole picture. And like that's what a lot of these other attorneys have done. They've just taken that part and just addressed that, but that doesn't come without the rest of the system.
hmm
You don't have the circumstances that make those things possible without the force fighting, without the cavity searches,
hmm
without the pepper spraying, without the denial of food, without the, oh well, you don't get to visit your family. They have a no hugs policy. So when the kids' parents come to visit them, they don't get to hug them. Like there's and they're like, oh, they can bring in drugs. Your staff is bringing in the drugs, ma'am. Please.
That's so evil.
Exactly. So this is not like it's just it's it's a system, it's a choice, it's inhumane, but it's not just one piece. This is systemic. This is systematic. Like we can't just get I can't get hung up on one piece of this because then it does a disservice and it doesn't acknowledge the other indignities that these kids are suffering at the same time. And it's probably happening in your state too, people who are listening, because
Um,
this isn't just a California problem. It's
oh
just they
yeah,
are the biggest. Because I know that this is happening in Maryland, Indiana, Georgia, all over the country.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And if anyone listening to this wants to reach out to me, to help them, I'll take notes from Rachel, and try to get you what you deserve, when I open up my law firm in a couple months. But I'm laughing like incredulously, like being like, "Oh, this is so such a litany of fuckery," and I'm just like, "Oh, that's awful." Um, yeah. Uh, how do you think that people? I guess like we'll end on this note, and I kind of want to give people a way to help you and help support your advocacy efforts. What do you think that people should be doing right now to help this movement towards unearthing the truth about these um systems?
So call your local, I'm talking about your state assembly members, your state senators, because they're the ones who, if this is a county problem, they're the ones who are directly, they have the oversight, they have the ability to say something. The Board of Supervisors, if you're in Los Angeles County, the Board of Supervisors decided to keep these facilities open. They need to be pressed. Um, It looks like sending books to the facility because the kids don't always have access to stuff to read. It looks like, finding out what organizations are going there and making meals, like small things, just being on the lookout. Um, yeah, half of these kids are pre-adjudication, which means they have not been convicted of a crime. So they're being put in torture camp just for being born. And because they live in a low income community, so the test score thing that determines whether or not you should keep someone incarcerated before trial has weighed not in their favor. I mean, awareness is the first part.
Hmm.
Talking about this, sharing that this is happening, because action steps are coming. You know, there's legislation, there's stuff that people are doing to try to like build this up, but part of it is just building a coalition. It's making sure that people know about what's happening and they care because they have done a really good job of keeping this under wraps. Because I thought I was the super woke queen and I had no idea.
No, I had no idea until you told me. I thought I was a super woke queen, and I didn't know until you told me, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is so fucked on so many levels." And yeah, no, awareness is definitely the first step. That, and I really appreciate you, coming on here and talking about it because I think that within the legal profession too, it's frowned upon to talk about crimes like this. Even just like, they don't want you to name names. Like even on a law school level. Like if someone effectuates harm against you there, people want you to be quiet. People want you to suffer in silence. People think that, oh, well, aren't you afraid of getting sued for defamation? No. Like everything I said was fucking true. So, truth is,
Exactly.
and so truth.
No, I'm not. And that's the thing. It's like it would be one thing if it was one person saying one thing, but we have people from rival gangs from different eras talking about the same abusers, the same patterns, the same groups of people.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, the attorney general indicted 30 officers, and some of them are back at work. What? Yes. Yes. So this is not just incidental. This is a choice. This is a dismissal of children. And it's basically saying, their dreams don't matter because every kid has a dream and every kid can be something. But the way society responds to them determines whether or not they even have access to the resources to make that dream a reality.
Hmm.
So it's on us. Are we going to be willing to speak up for those who cannot speak up for themselves? Or are we going to sit back in comfort?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Bars. Um, like I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't know. Like you just dropped so many like bars and gems in the course of this conversation, and I'm really grateful to you for opening my eyes to this heinous atrocity that's occurring. And sharing your client's testimony with the world through this platform. And I hope to continue to have conversations with you and support you in any way that I can. Because it's you're right. Awareness is the first step, and yeah, this shit's gotta end. Uh, it's just so heinous. I don't even have words for it. Like it's so fucked. Like on so many different levels. It's just like I keep having like visceral body like reactions to what you're saying because I'm like disgusting. Like this is, and I can't even imagine what the kids are feeling. You
And
know.
we didn't even talk about the conditions because we're not talking about the fact that the milk is curdled, the food is stale, there's mold in the showers. Like it's
Mhm.
so many things. And some days I'm just sitting there and I'm like, how am I still finding more stuff? What is going on? But I just right now it's shout from the rooftops
Mhm.
because there needs to be eyes on the issues before we can talk about mobilizing to, you know, create whatever change that those who have survived this tell us that they need. Because the people who are impacted, they know what they need and they can articulate that. Are we willing to listen?
Yeah, these motherfuckers gotta die. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like that I don't know if there's like another way. I mean, I'm not gonna kill him, but like I'm just saying, I don't know if there's any like retribution for them in this life. Like the level of heinous shit, it's just so big. It's like I don't even know if that's like something that you can atone for. Like, like it's just like I don't. It's the biblical levels of horror. Like
I mean, I
that's
think that we can ask ourselves, though, about the people who we are punishing because of these experiences, because of their response to these experiences, because we don't ask ourselves, why is this person, what happened to you? What happened to you that made you respond in such a way that now you have 3 life sentences? What happened to you that made it so that you were unable to, process these things? So while like I totally want these people to burn in hell, I also want the people who were harmed to at least be seen and have an opportunity to live the rest of their life. And a lot of them are languishing away in prison.
oh yeah, no, I'm talking about the officers.
Oh, no, I know. But I'm saying, like, instead of focusing on those people,
Oh
we
yeah,
need to
yeah, yeah.
focus on the people who were harmed
Oh
and
yeah.
like think about whether or not we can forgive them for the crimes that came after.
Yeah, I don't think they need to die. I mean, yeah, I mean,
I know, but like
it's
live
like
the
I
rest
got
of their
empathy
life
for
in
them.
prison?
Nah, I mean, I don't think, especially like the people who do fraud and stuff, I don't feel like that's that bad. Like, it's like, even if, honestly, in certain circumstances, like, murder's not that bad. Like, it's like, it depends on who you killed. Like, I could defend a murderer. It just depends on why you did what you did and what's your story look like. Because if you came from this juvenile institution, I, I got empathy for you, you know.
Yeah,
If
so maybe it's just talking to society about whether they can have empathy for those people too, and reassessing what rehabilitation looks like so that we can actually help people move past the horrors that they've experienced.
out, but yeah, just to tie like not even a neat bow on like what we've been discussing, but just like yeah, I don't know how to I've never had this serious of a conversation before. So I'm a little bit like I don't know how to like I don't know how this like stops. It's just kind of like yeah, I really want people to know.
Just don't look away.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's like it. That's it. Right now, it's, this is uncomfortable to hold and grapple with. This is a reality. It's uncomfortable. So people can either look away, put it out of sight, out of mind, or they can hold it and grapple with it. So right now it's just, can you hold this? Will you hold this? Will you talk about this issue with other people and challenge them to hold it? Because that's the only way that we're going to be able to get accountability or get change for these kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we gotta look dead ass into like, what's going on. Um,
And we can't fund our own Epstein Island because right now your tax dollars are paying for this Epstein Island. And
no,
like that is so unsettling.
yeah.
What's more unsettling is that these files, the California files, they've been out. So are you going to read them? Are you going to look into this? Are you going to validate that what I'm saying is not just me being over dramatic?
Oh no, yeah,
I mean, that's the first thing people are going to say. That,
no, they would
this
be
is
full of
hyped
shit.
up.
No. No, because like, and I don't know if you posted your complaint or like anything like that on your page or anything like that, but and I don't know how you feel about that.
It's a public document. It was written the way it was written so people would read it and so it could be posted because there's no way people are going to grapple with those realities otherwise.
But the thing is, most people don't even know how to like use Pacer or like use any of like
Oh,
the
yeah.
like the thing is, there's like so much because people do the same thing to my case where they're like, "Oh, is she really telling the truth?" And I'm like, "I got a fucking video court recording of them doing the shit that I'm accusing them of."
Yeah,
Like
that's why
right,
I cite all my sources in the complaint. It's written like a academic article because I said what I said, period, and
Mhm.
here's the citation if you don't believe me.
No, absolutely, and that's why I really love. Like, I mean, I didn't love reading your complaint. Don't get me wrong. It was not a happy read. Like let me be very clear. But like it was very well written in that way. You're absolutely right. And so um yeah, I don't see how, but people say like, oh, well, we didn't see it. We don't understand. Or they'll say like, you're hyping it up. You're obviously not. This is obviously very real, and it happened the way that you're saying it did.
And
And
it's
the way that
happening right now. That's the thing that like I cannot emphasize enough. This is not a past harm. This is
Mhm,
it. This is happening. Kids are still being harmed today. A
mhm.
staff can still decide that they don't like you and they want to put you in a unit with your enemies, and you can get packed out, which is jumped every day, and no one's going to help you.
Evil, evil, evil shit. Well, I guess with that, you know, please follow Rachel's accounts. Um,
Oh, yeah, on Instagram, Rachel P. Jacobs and Rachel Pearl Law. Um, I haven't developed my other social media that much yet. I'm working on it, guys. Look, I can't be a lawyer activist and a content creator. It's hard.
yeah,
Um,
it is. It is, and it's not easy. Like, all the trending audios that you have to find, and all the um, like trends that you have to follow, and the cap cut, and like TikTok. It's a lot of shit, and it's not all helpful to, necessarily like advance the cause. Um,
it's also depressing. Like, y'all, like the weight that is resting on my heart when I have to leave these kids at the facility and I get to go home and I know that they are going to be taken back to their unit with their abusers is devastating. Like,
Yeah. That's really bad. Yeah. I hope that these institutions get shut down and people are held accountable.
and communities get paid,
Oh
period.
yeah, and community gets yeah.
Because this is a community harm and these communities need to be paid because this is generational. It has been going on. The California Youth Authority was created in 1941. This is a year after my grandpa was born. Lots and lots of people have been through these systems. And that means that though their communities have been harmed. That
Mhm.
means their communities have been financially stunted. So we need to also think about what does that look like? And do we need reparations for the carceral facilities in the United States?
Oh yeah.
Not talking about enslavement, but talking about the institutionalized racism that has happened with mass incarceration.
Oh yeah. No, we do. We need reparations for just enduring any of this shit. I feel like I feel like that's vague as hell, but like I mean that in the most literal sense. Like I feel like they've effectuated too much harm for it to not be compensated for. But yeah. I hope that, um you win this case and
Thanks.
like, it ends up in multi-billion dollar settlement, trillion dollar potentially. I hope. What if you got like a trillion dollar settlement? That might be great. Then you'd be like, oh, it's still not enough, probably. Like it's just
I mean, I estimated about 3.5 million people have been involved in the system since the 80s. So, I mean, we're talking huge numbers. And
yeah. Well,
where do we go from here?
up.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can go because
So
I
what now you know.
yeah, now I
And,
know.
and that's the step. Once you know, you can do something about it. And
That's
you can
true.
help people do something about it.
That's definitely true. And I'm sure that, like you said, these systems have been in place since way before we were born. But now that we know, we should act to stop them and hold them accountable and get paid, like you said.
Absolutely. Because there are alternatives. We don't need to stick kid in prison. We don't need to stick kids in jail. Who is that helping? Who is that rehabilitating?
Yeah. It's not rehabilitative at all. Like it's just carceral and punitive, you know.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I really do appreciate your time, taking out the day to like speak on this for free. Like with me, I really value that. And I hope that people are motivated by seeing you, a beautiful, intelligent, brilliant person, like speaking about heinous ill. Because so much of what we see online and Instagram and everything is just like, oh, look at the bag I brought. Like, oh, like I bought this. And not saying that that stuff can't
Oh,
have
I love a good bag.
oh yeah, sure, sure, sure. But at the same time, a lot of the people who do that, there is none of the other.
Hmm.
It's like it's really like siloed. Like there's no interaction between like you're a very, very complex individual, I can tell. And like you have a lot of um like you think very deeply about these issues and they affect you. And as they should, because this is really heinous stuff. But I just hope that you're like, your presence here, I hope it motivates, you listener. Re I was gonna say reader, but you're not reading shit, so um, but like, but like listener, I hope that you are motivated by seeing Rachel, come on here and tell, her. basically, one of her most incredible pieces of litigation that is harming literally millions of people in California. And it's a huge structural issue, it's a huge systemic issue. And yeah, I hope that we can mobilize together as a community to stop it, really, and get compensated. So yeah, thank you so much for your time again. And yeah, thank you for watching the Honey Pack podcast this week. I appreciate you all. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I